So we're here with Dustin Kensrue from Thrice. Congratulations on the new record, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, super excited about it. Now, this is the 10th studio album from Thrice, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And overall, 20th between EPs and the acoustic stuff you've done?
I don't know.
You've been writing music for a long time.
Yeah, this is 20 years.
Gosh, dang.
Yeah.
So, I think through various points in life, we all come to a point where we think we know it all, and if you look back at your history and could kind of give your younger self a little bit of advice, what do you think that would be going back?
Well, it depends which point it would be at.
Yeah.
No, I think that fundamental issue was. Everyone's got their own hang-ups personality-wise, but for me, I always wanted to know the answers to things. Mm-hmm. And, younger me thought I could know all the answer. And my first kind of huge shift in thinking was oh, no, you can't know all the answers. You never, ever will. And that really freaked me out. And then ever since that, it's been kind of smaller, I guess I would say they're going up, smaller steps of realizing kind of new ways to see that intellectual humility. And it doesn't mean not thinking critically about things, but accepting the limitations of that, especially learning just the different things that are affecting all of us, whether it's, there's so much that's just about me or anyone that's part of just where you happen to be born,
right,
and at what time in history and whatever, that affects you in profound ways that you can barely see or detect. So
it's crazy. You say that I was born in San Mateo in the Bay Area and only lived there till I was about 3 years old, but every time I travel back to that area, I just feel this weird sense of a gravitational home, which is a real kind of a trip. Now, okay, so here's a scoop, and this video isn't going online until they're ready to announce this, but you guys direct support for Bring Me the Horizon. Are you a huge fan of that band? This is going to put you in front of a totally different audience, kind of, yeah?
Yeah, I have not listened to them.
Oh, my
much,
God.
But we're really grateful for the opportunity, especially, we've been having, some success at active rock and radio, and generally, for the most of our history, haven't been, around a lot of those bands that are in there. But active rock plays rock music.
Sure,
we play rock music,
yeah.
So that's where the guitar music is these days, and so it's been a new experience for us. So playing a big tour that kind of is more in that realm is rad.
Now, look, I know you're not necessarily a fan of small talk. You're relatively soft-spoken. Going out on stage and as aggressive and as into it as you get, is it a cathartic thing for you? Is it like a lot of us might just go and do a hard workout in the gym?
When it's really connecting in all the ways, it's great. There's so many factors that are at play, whether it's what the sound is like in my ears at that time, or if I'm feeling great physically at the time, or I'm feeling weird, or I don't know. And you can never tell what it's going to be. I think the thing that helps me most these days is really trying to you'll get stuck in your head and you're thinking about whatever's just rattling up here, and you're getting really disconnected from the moment. So just trying to bring it back to a mindfulness of what's happening right there. I'm playing music, and I can be connected to my body, and there's all these other people, and we're sharing this moment. And so really trying to ground yourself in the amazing things that are happening, because there's amazing things happening just sitting here.
Right.
I have a body and I can move it, and mindfulness is a really helpful thing to, not just in a meditative kind of sense, but to be doing all the time, to just reconnect, ground you in the amazingness that life is. So I try to do that on stage, and that helps. And even screwing up really bad can help sometimes, because you can either go two ways from that, right? You can get all bummed out and pouty, or you can be like, man, whatever. Like,
well, if you repeat it twice, I hear it's not a screw up.
3 times.
3 times.
Three
sorry.
times. Yeah, I'll do that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the Miles Davis rule, is what we call it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the one who first coined it, but he definitely talks about it. Works a little better in jazz than rock and roll, but you can get away with it.
You tend to write some pretty heady stuff. You take a look at rock bands like, I don't know whether it's Kiss or Aerosmith or even Metallica, who has kind of written from a standpoint of a lot of readings, whether it's fiction or life experiences. But you tend to be a writer that seems to be more introspective and observational. So if you don't mind, I kind of want to move past some of just the music talk and get into a little bit higher level heady stuff. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. To be everywhere is to be nowhere, to me, came across as somewhat of a rebellious awakening, whereas Palm seems to be more accepting, more of like an awoken state with a theme of togetherness instead of a theme of us versus them. What was your aha moment in between, and am I on base at all there?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're somehow opposed. I think they're just different points in a journey,
right?
But I think what you're picking up about Palms is accurate, and definitely there's huge shifts between there as far as my thinking. So yeah, in between those two records, definitely had a huge shift in a lot of different ways. A huge part of it came down to so I've been a Christian my whole life. My understanding of that has changed through a variety of different kind of lenses, but I had held to some form of inerrancy where you're saying, okay, well, the Bible is God's word, and it's supposed to be perfect, even though there's parts of it that are really rubbing me strange, and these parts seem to be arguing. But I didn't have a good framework to understand that the only options are not just chucking all of this or thinking that it's all exactly perfect. And so I started re-examining some of that and coming to the conclusion that I definitely do not believe that that's the best way to look at it. And that's shifted and opened some thinking on some other levels. So these days, still very into Jesus, but have pretty unorthodox views on a lot of things, and would say I'm very into process theology, philosophy. Would say generally I'm a process Christian, evolutionary panentheist.
Are you familiar with the Urantia Society?
Urantia?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I'm going to give you something before we leave that, you talk about, questions and questions being answered, and you can interpret it any way you want, but it's interesting. Trying not to get political here, but really thinking rather philosophical and social. The current division that's in society, and it's not just happening here in the U.S., it's everywhere. What's your view on how we got there, and is there an answer or a way out where we're at right now that you see?
The way that I see it is what's happening right now is a reaction to something that is already happening, a sense of globalization and an awakening of something bigger than our tribes. And so I think there's a lot of great things there, and I'm excited for that to continue, but it has, I think, brought a sense of fear for the people who are feeling very defined by what their tribe is, whether that's their nation or their race or whatever that is. So I think what you're seeing, this kind of broad division is happening between those who see the world as something that we are moving past all these smaller divisions. We should be trying to find some kind of global peace and consciousness and understanding with each other. And that's something good, and a lot of people feeling like that's something scary to them and bad. So that would be how I would see it.
If there's a fear from me, it's almost you think of that pendulum, and the pendulum is swung pretty hard. How hard back is that pendulum going to swing as far as just how we treat each other and what's going on with people today.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I feel like that gets talked about a lot, and there are some very angry voices on both sides, but I would say that I'm trying not to get political.
I know it's tough.
There is a different way of talking that is characterized like whatever. I have to get somewhat political. This is not in any way an indictment of anyone who is more conservative or right wing or political or like historically Republican, whatever. Like, there's plenty of amazing people and theories that are worth talking about and worth dialoguing about in that realm. Right now, it's been hugely taken over by people who are very
maybe agenda driven,
deep in a rhetoric of fear and inciting hatred and division, and there's such a uniformity even in what's happening right there, whereas what you see on the other side, not always but a lot, is a lot of different pockets of voices who are not all the same voice, but have a helpful dialogue with each other and are all listening to each other and learning from each other. And I find that to be something that's helpful and brings hope to me. To if it does swing, it's not just going to be this, the same thing on the other side. Now we're gonna try to target who and whatever. Like, there are people who are that way, but I think in general there is a lot of light over there, and I don't know. I think we need to get back to a place where we can have healthy dialogue and not this insane division. So
yeah, I certainly see a hope in the youth that's finally engaged for like the first time in 3 decades, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll see. I would encourage, I don't know, I would encourage everyone to speak in a way to each other that they would want to be spoken to, and to listen. I see a lot of calls for kind of incivility on the left, and what I want to say is I'm not going to say to someone who's I saw a great tweet today talking about basically, like, if you're in a position where you're still being civil and someone's hearing you and listening to you, that's an indicator of, in a sense, of your privileged position.
Right.
So don't be telling people who aren't being listened to be civil. Yeah. Because no one's listening, so they're going to have a different take on that. So let them have that take. But if it is within, your power and privilege to try to bridge those gaps, I think that's helpful. And in doing so, never affirming or making it okay to be spreading the kind of fear-mongering and
right.
Hateful language. So.
Okay. So moving on a little bit, what are your thoughts on personality, soul, and presence?
That's a lot of things all at once.
I know it is. Okay. Do you feel personality and presence ever change, or is it only the soul that is in a perpetual state of change based on the input from the other two?
What are you viewing as presence in the way you're talking about it?
Presence meaning how you come across to people, how people look at you and perceive you as an individual.
Okay. That's hard. So soul-wise, I I don't know. Like we used to have more of a kind of Cartesian dualism there, where it's like body and soul are totally separate in a sense, even though they somehow interact. And I would say I have a much more kind of non-dual view of that now, to where I don't think there is really a separation. And that's not to say I'm a materialist. That's why I would say I'm a panentheist, where I think that God is in all things, and all things are in God, and it not in a I don't know. The God I believe in is not a coercive thing, so that's pretty different than a standard look at that. But as far as like personality, I think I back the nature nurture thing. Like I see those at work in everyone. I see that's going on in the presence. I don't know how you come across people is a very interesting thing, because you can kind of guess at it, but you never quite know. I mean, for me, I know I come across in ways that I never intend to a lot of the time. So, I'll be trying to be super friendly, but I am very soft-spoken and can come across like people can think that I'm mean when I was like trying my hardest to be nice.
Maybe it's the beard. I don't know. I get that a little bit too. My son always tells me, Dad, you just look mean. You just look like no one wants to start any crap with you. And thank God Almighty, I have never.
I don't get that vibe from you. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I would say, there's definitely a correlation between personality and the way someone perceives you, but I don't know what all you can do about that.
Tell me about the big life lessons. Yeah, I'm a father of 4, 2 of which were adopted, and I know you're a dad as well. Is there anything that becoming a father has taught you in life, looking back at things that only a dad could know from that perspective, that if you're not a father, it's almost indescribable to tell somebody about what that's like? Maybe a big life lesson.
All right.
For me, it would be patience.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be a lesson, but like, there's a certain thing, there's a kind of knowing that you can't have before, and a kind of appreciating certain things. Like, you can tell people, you can't describe the way that it changes the function of like reality for you. Like, it's not all about you and the time that you have and what. It completely inverts that.
So that's
you can try to explain it to someone, and it doesn't really compute, and you're like, no, it's going to change a lot, and it doesn't. I found that it doesn't do any good. They're going to figure it out. Yeah,
I can tell you, as far as marriage is concerned, with me, compromise has been the big one. This is my second marriage, and first marriage, man, I wanted to win every single battle, and my very wise father, who's a writer, told me, son, you can win the battle and lose the war. What's the outcome you're looking for? I go, okay, all right, I get it. And that marriage, went down in a ball of flames. And my next marriage, I said, you know what? I'm just going to compromise. It's okay to be wrong here, even though I think I'm right. It's okay to just compromise on the small stuff that isn't going to amount to much. Anyways, you ever entertain the idea of writing a book? You're such a great writer from a lyrical perspective. Is that something that intrigues you at all?
Yeah, I would really have to have the right concept, so I'd toy around with writing some kind of fiction at some point, or I've thought about writing a musical. I really like good musicals, and I hate most of them.
So do I.
But
I agree with that.
I am writing a children's book, Christmas children's book, that I've been writing for a couple years. Like, obviously not doing this all the time, because it would be done. But that if I do write a book, that will probably be the first one that I finish. Be like a picture book. And
are you an artist? Do you draw a lot?
No, I'm not a good artist.
Yeah. I am decent at music, and
I'm good at any kind of composition, so I can compose photos or can like design things. I'm not a good actual drawer.
Yeah, my wife got all that talent. Aside from music and family, what would you say is your biggest indulgement? You know, something that just gives you a lot of joy when it's you're not playing music and it's not with family, just something that's very indulgent that brings joy into your life.
I like making and consuming good cocktails.
Good cocktails.
I do that.
Okay.
I read a bunch.
What's your favorite bourbon or spirit?
I'm really into rum.
God.
So I make a lot of like tiki drinks.
Okay.
Which I have a poor understanding in most people's. They devolved into like what I would call boat drinks, you know, like drinks you get on a crappy boat, which is
the rum
not
punch,
a good tiki drink.
109 proof rum punch.
So I like rum a lot. Rum is also not well understood, which is nice because it means it's not as pricey as
True.
Bourbon or rye right now.
Yeah.
So you can get like a really nice aged rum.
What's your favorite aged rum?
I don't know. There's actually a really good rum. It's not like super aged, but it's fantastic, called Dr. Bird. That's kind of my favorite lately. It's from
Joe. Make a note of that, Dr. Bird.
Dr. Bird. It's from a distillery in Detroit called Two James.
Okay. I like the sweeter aged rums. You know, Zaya, that's pretty widely available.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty decent
too sweet
rum,
for
but
me.
it's very, very sweet. It's good if you're just sipping it, but not necessarily mixing a drink with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Smith & Cross is great. Ray and Nephew, but that's a whole nother thing. Anyway,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting in. I could go down large rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like getting out and walking in nature, hiking, reading. I don't do that. I don't hike enough, but I need to more.
Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate you hanging out and just spending 20 minutes with me talking about, other stuff. And I absolutely love the album.
Thank you.
So congratulations on that. I could go on and on and on about the album, but I just really wanted to get a little bit inside your head because I think you're a fascinating individual just based on the songwriting and your lyricism. So
thanks, man.
Again, Dustin, thank you for the time. I appreciate it, man.
Cool. Cheers.
All right. It's Jay with Two Dudes Reviews.